Hello, Euroclown. I'm speaking to you through this statue right here, so you can see me up close and personal. I just wanted to let you know today that your dreams of a white Egypt have vanished in the thin air. So I want you to take a look at my little sister right here and think about all the times that you disrespected her, because today's the day that she gets her vengeance. So if any of you guys have been with me so far, it's been an all-out assault on 7 Phoenician 7, who is nothing but a pure liar. I've already proven that, and today is a synthesis of everything that I've said before, all into one video, for the most part. And so we see right here that Phoenician number 7 told me personally that she doesn't believe that the people of ancient Kemet were Caucasian. She says that they are Caucasian, point blank, and that science has established this. Science has established this, huh? Is that why the Petrie Museum of Egyptian and Sudanese Archaeology in London regularly holds events that explore ancient Egypt alongside other African cultures? Science has established that, right? Or maybe it's why the World Museum over in Liverpool used an actor of African descent to play the part of a king, because, you know, we was kings and shit, in its educational films. Educational films, freaks. And so I think that it's about time that we say black to Kemet. Place in Egypt, back in Africa, just like Cambridge University said. The haters want to try to say this or that, go tit for tat. Too damn bad, freaks. Abu Simbel is black history. Get over it. We saw already from the British Museum where they say on their teacher's notes that ancient Kemet has every right to be considered African, and this can be used as a powerful counter-argument to those who try to belittle the cultural and technological achievements of African civilizations. Therefore, when these freaks ask us what have black people done for the world, you let them know about ancient Kemet. They did it already, okay? These fools are up here slobbering all over ancient Kemet every single day. They look at the artifacts and the architecture. But it's like they say right here in the teacher's notes. Egypt is less frequently studied as an African society, but the focus is on evidence from objects, especially tomb paintings. You know, kind of like this tomb painting right here, Amenhotep III. Yeah, you see them statues right there? That's black. British Museum told you. And so what we get is fantasy images of Egyptians on TV rather than just seeing the real thing. Eurocentrics, Euroclowns, whatever you want to call yourself, we show you study after study. So instead they want to play poker and find their own study and try to play a game of one-up. This is not a game, freaks. So today we're going to be talking about Egypt in its African context. And we will be reading from the proceedings of the conference held at the Manchester Museum at the University of Manchester. And as you see, this was held in 2009. You guys are a little late, Euroclowns. Let me see, this paper is by Tristan Samuels, University of Toronto. You see, I learned from the Amin Ra squad to show my sources, freaks. And if you want to download this paper for yourself, there you go, write it down, read the shit. We see right here, Egypt in its African context is the first egyptological volume to include contributions from who? African-centered scholars since Egypt and Africa. And so we see essays by traditional Egyptologists, archaeologists, and Africanists. There is no European shit included. It's time to get over it now. Your storybook is over. It didn't end the way you wanted, freaks. And so we see that this volume right here aims to encourage further dialogue between African-centered scholarship and traditional Egyptology. And as you can see right here, the volume demonstrates the falsehood, meaning the outright lie of categorizing ancient Kemet as Near Eastern as opposed to African. Did I remind you that this was the University of Manchester, freaks? Just want you to know that. See, the gig is up today, folks. Here we have an archaeologist, Folorunso. But take a look right here. This Egyptologist, Stephen Quirke. Now, if you remember on my other video, when I was talking about the maps from Digital Egypt for universities, now this is University College London, the same damn University College London that Petrie was at. And you see it says right here, a learning and teaching resource for higher education, 3,000 pages, 300 of them by Stephen Quirke. Now, if you take a look right here, the page is managed by Stephen Quirke, and also information and suggestions on funding, contact Stephen Quirke. Now, this is the same Dr. Stephen Quirke who was at Black to Kemet. And you see that he was the curator of the Petrie Museum of Egyptian Archaeology. And he was there to talk to who? Key African intellectuals. It's over, Eurocentrics. Keep trying to tell you freaks this. How many disciplines do we got to show? To show you that the gig is up. It don't matter what you got to say anymore, freaks. And look who else was there. Dr. Shamarka. So, going back to Stephen Quirke here at Manchester, he talks about the commonalities between ancient Egyptians and tropical African cultures. And these reflect a common origin dating to the Neolithic period. Just like I've been telling you freaks the entire damn time, here we see that they outright have said this now, that the culture of ancient Kemet came from Africa. It wasn't the other way around. And here they talk about white therapy and how this can be therapeutic for Eurocentrics. However, the concept of a black ancient Egypt is not therapeutic as much as it is a criticism of Eurocentric racism. Damn. Straight clowning Eurocentrics. Stephen Quirke observes that Egyptology and archaeology lack involvement from African-centered scholars and people versed in African languages, largely due to what? Hating. And so this weakness can be overcome if who? African and African American universities engage with Egyptology. Thank you. Quirke observes that Egyptology needs perspectives from non-European people. Thank you very much. I'm telling you, Eurocentrics, it's over now, folks. Now, so when we look at this paper right here, Timothy Kendall, Why Did Taharqa Build His Tomb at Nuri? We see Doctors Robert Hall and Ronald Bailey of the African American Studies Department at Northeastern University, Boston, lent institutional support to this excellent study that you just have to read. If you're black and you're in an ancient Kemet and Nubians, you owe it to yourself to find that paper and read it. And so, this was at the University of Manchester, just to remind you. And also there was a historian, Kimani Nehusi, and he talked about the opposition towards Black to Kemet, towards that position. You know, kind of like Phoenician number 7 and Super Egyptian and all the rest of these freaks. And here he talks about African-centered scholarship that has challenged the racist biases of early Egyptology. Of course, they talk about Sheikh Anta Diop and how he was dissed because he kept talking about Egypt was too black. And then he talks about the prevalent presumption of ancient Egyptian whiteness. How you guys just assume that ancient Kemet was white. And then they talk about the 25th dynasty Nubian rulers are often erroneously referred to as the black pharaohs, which implies that the ancient Egyptians were white. Of course, that's all a game. That's why they showed the little picture, you know, make sure that they show you, oh, these are the African pharaohs. Nope, they're all African. Get over it. And he also correctly argues that the Egyptian art shows both Egyptians and Nubians with the same range of skin complexions and, Phoenician number 7, phenotypic features. The diverse physical types in these depictions will be defined as black in a modern context. Have a good day, Super Egyptian. Go home. Here we see, on this picture, just like the paper says, this Nubian is the same color as this Egyptian. And also, on Kemet Expert, in actual fact, some depictions of the people from Kush show them with the same skin colors as Egyptians. Get over it. You see the damn picture right there. Okay? You also see that they have other skin tones. Thus, not all depictions of people from Kush show them with black skin. Like the people from Kemet, their skin tones vary. Thank you very much. Also there was Maria Gatto, and she observed that Nubian pastoral culture had a great deal of influence on ancient Egypt's social development. It doesn't say anything in here about Europeans' pastoral culture had a great deal of influence on Egypt's social development, and this goes hand in hand again with what I've been saying, that Proto-Indo-Europeans had absolutely pretty much no effect on pre-dynastic Egypt's culture. It did not develop from Proto-Indo-European ideas. It simply didn't. Get over it. Have a good day. And so, again, Gatto convincingly demonstrates that Nubian pastoral nomads were the African ancestors of Egypt. You read it, you see it. And in addition, they even played a role in the origin of what the entire African pastoral tradition. Have a seat, Super Egyptian. Can you feel me? Analysis shows that influence between Egypt and Nubia was not unilateral, meaning Egypt wasn't just in the same position of sending culture to Nubia. It went both ways. And as you see right there, what it says, as is often assumed. Furthermore, Gatto clearly demonstrates Nubia's role in the social development of Africa. You see it, you read it, you heard it. That's what we've been saying the whole damn time. Here we got Ana Jimenez, and she discussed the power symbolism of the wild ox there in the early Saharan culture. And she explained why this animal was chosen to represent the king as opposed to other animals. And in Saharan and Nilotic cultures, the cultural complex from which pre-dynastic Egypt emerged. Here we go again. Ana Jimenez says, in Saharan and Nilotic cultures, the cultural complex from which pre-dynastic Egypt emerged. You know, same Nilotics as Super Egyptian wants to call pure Negroid. Yeah, those Nilotic cultures. This wild ox and the bull were chosen as a metaphor for the power of the chief or the king because of the dominance that they showed. Too bad, Euro freaks. Where was this at? In the Neolithic Western Sahara. And then it says here, the leader's ability to hunt them was a testament to his prowess, and it was believed he harnessed their powerful essence, which enabled him to conquer and subjugate his enemies. You got that right. The bull, which was the Nilotic equivalent of this wild ox, reflected the same ideology. And look what it says. For Nilotic rulers. Where? Abydos and Heracleopolis. You heard that right, Eurocentrics. The leaders of Abydos and Heracleopolis were Nilotic people. Thank you very much. And what does it say? Overall, Jimenez provides a clear example of ancient Egypt's Nile-Saharan roots. Have a good day. Here we see from the Neolithic of the Middle Nile region how the domestication of these cattle made their way across the Sahara all the way to the west coast of Africa. Have a good day, Euro freaks. You see those dates on there. You see the different breeds and how they even cross breeds. And again, there goes that magic number again, about 10,000 years ago. And look what they mentioned again, Nabta, Playa, Eastern Sahara. Let's remember, the people in Eastern Sahara were Ethiopians. Here we see from NASA, ancient observatories. Before even Stonehenge. Nabta, Playa, one of the oldest known astronomical sites in the world. Now, it's here that we see 9 burial sites for cows, and under each is a pile of 40 to 50 rocks that weigh up to 200 or 300 pounds apiece. So you have about 40 or 50 rocks that weigh about 200 or 300 pounds. So here we see the earliest evidence of people in Egypt lifting heavy stones. There you go. And you see what it says right here, from many cultures in the tropics, the zenith sun has been a major event for thousands of years. And then I got this map of Nabta, Playa right here, and as you see, it is below Aswan. Let's remember, that's the home of the Negroids, right? Remember that? Yes, Nabta, Playa right there. They was lifting 200 or 300 pound stones, 40 or 50 of them. They got underground chambers over there, all type of shit. That's why these Euro freaks can't do nothing but hate. And so we see right here, the Nilotic equivalent of the wild ox was the bull. Had the same ideology as the Saharan people over there in the Eastern Sahara. And then it says that this was the ideology for Nilotic rulers at Abydos and Heracleopolis. Have a good day. We go over here to the British Museum. Burial practices of the final Neolithic pastoralists, where Jebel Barkal. Here you see that Jebel Barkal is very much, almost damn near, in the center of the Egyptian universe. You see right there is nearly halfway. That's your Egyptian world right there, and you see that it's in the middle of everything. And then it's there that we see, from a physical anthropological viewpoint, the population sample exhibited evidence of North African and Sub-Saharan admixture. Yep, that's right, freaks. There were no traces of violence on the skeletons, so nobody was getting punked, so he found out that you was lying there too, freaks. Too damn bad. And also, these people were buried with all type of stuff. They had 896 artifacts recovered. Whereas over in the Levant, South Levant, they wasn't getting buried with barely nothing. You can look it up, you can read it. They wasn't getting buried with 896 of anything. And then you see that they looked at some beakers there, and pottery of this type is known from cemeteries dated to different phases of the Neolithic, spreading over a vast area from Middle Egypt in the north to Khartoum in the south, along the Nile Valley, as well as in the modern desert, east and west. You didn't come in, you didn't turn nobody out, you didn't kick nobody off nowhere, because there simply wasn't nobody living over there except these Ethiopian people. And then later, we start seeing some Asiatics coming in. But at this point that we're talking about now, no. And so we see right here about this calciform beaker that was worn like a necklace in the final Neolithic at Nabta, Playa. We see that. And then when we go to this paper, Cultural Convergence, from University College and Oxford, we see where they say right here, strong correspondences between trajectories of Neolithic cultural development in Middle Egypt and in the vicinity of modern Khartoum, far to the south, were first pointed out more than 10 years ago. Get over it, freaks. It's done. Look at the map. This is what they're talking about. It's where the people went. They went back and forth between the Eastern Sahara and the Nile Valley and the Sudan. As you can see, they were pushed into the Sudan, and the other people were pushed over into the Nile. They had there was only two directions that they could go, south or east. In the meantime, you guys are trying to figure out where you are at over by the Caucasian mountains. Have a good day. And so when we go back to burial practices of the final Neolithic from the British Museum, we see identification of an individual exhibiting chronic stress from flexing and bending when lifting and carrying objects. Remember how they had to lift those 200, 300-pound stones. And look what it says. Perhaps this person took part, willingly or not, in the erection of the megaliths in the ceremonial center not far from this village. There you go. Now you know. And it says right here, the worsening drought forced them to migrate toward the Nile Valley, where they undoubtedly brought their culture, organizational system, and beliefs, contributing to the birth of ancient Egyptian civilization. Therefore, if we go back to my map with its red line, you can see right there, you can see how far it is. It's nearly on the border with Sudan. And so you can see exactly what they said. You see how it's pointed out clearly to you. So having found that out so far, we can see why they put the Black Power comb right next to the pre-dynastic comb from Abydos, the royal city. You see, they're not going to put the European comb there. They put that Black Power comb right there because Egypt is Black Power. Now, just this picture alone should be enough for you freaks to just back up. You feel me? Because you're putting your hands on something that don't belong to you, freaks. And so, when we look at concordance of cranial and dental morphological traits by Prowse and Lavelle, you see what it says. A comparison with neighboring Nile Valley skeletal samples suggests that the high-status elite cemetery there, this local population at Nagata, was more closely related to populations in northern Nubia than the neighboring populations there in southern Egypt. That shows you that Nubians, or people that were similar to Nubians, went to this location in Nagata and became the elite people there. They became the ruling segment there. It says it right there, and it's all in concordance with Black to Kemet. And let us remember, in cultural convergence, University College London, University of Oxford, that the aim of that article was to define an important horizon of cultural change belonging to the 5th millennium BC that links Egypt's early development firmly to that of its southern neighbors in Nubia and central Sudan. Have a good day, Eurocentrics. Is it finally getting through your mind, freaks? Look at the type of words they use here throughout the entirety of the Nile Valley. A remarkably consistent set of concepts. And in this same paper, they say it has been clear for some decades that the later prehistory of Egypt cannot be adequately understood in isolation from a wider African context. And that is absolutely true. You guys haven't shut anything down. And now you can see why I say that. It doesn't matter how many videos Super Egyptian or Phoenician number 7 makes. Black people is not changing real life. They just have their little YouTube empire and they can just keep living their little storybook. Because why? They're a bunch of freaks and they're just jealous. And so, getting back to Manchester, Bumbo. So getting back to Manchester, we see here about giving agency to Nubian practices, which are often assumed to have been Egyptianized. Why? Because Indo-European Eurocentrics are a bunch of haters and always got something to say. That's why. When often, they don't even know what you're talking about, so they try to talk about, they just made up a word, Egyptianized. They're the ones that have been Egyptianized because they're the ones walking around in Egyptian costumes, pretending to be Egyptians and trying to act like they're trying to tell us something. But as you can see now, they have been completely shut down, and by the end of this video, they might as well just retire. So we got to move on now. Here we see Folorunso, who had arguments for Egyptian influence on tropical Africa are often predicated on the assumed inferiority of the latter. That means us so-called Negroes. And you see what it says right there. Recent evidence and interpretations show independent cultural developments for tropical Africa that were once credited to Egyptian influence. Eurocentrics, have a good day again. So here we see in this picture how everyone's always looking for these red Egyptians when they don't realize that African people are always coloring themselves red in all type of locations. Get over it, freaks. Have a good damn day. Here we see again how the Kemetic history and the culture lives on today. And that's why I say these Eurocentrics are just a bunch of cartoons, because they see this stuff and they can't stand it. That's why they make slideshows, because they can't stand these mashups and how we just smash on them instantly. And now they can understand why it's so easy to do the mashups. So getting back to the paper, here they are talking about commonalities between ancient Egyptian and tropical African cultures, indicating a common cultural source. You heard that right. Common cultural source for tropical African cultures and ancient Egyptian cultures. Thank you very much. I've been saying it the whole damn time. This dude, Folorunso, observes evidence which shows the biological connection between ancient Egyptians and tropical Africans. You can read that on page 76 if you want to read that for yourself. And then I have right here you see, I have put some examples of that, where Zakrzewski says, as a result of the facial prognatism, the Bedouin sample has been described as forming a morphological cluster with Nubian, Tigrayan, and other southern or Negroid groups. They knew this in 1935, they knew it in 1955, and Dr. Shamarka knew it in 1990. Have a good day. And the same Zakrzewski said, 747, that Nabta crania were more Negroid that they found than a later sample from Giza. And Brouwer said in 1976 that the Nubian and early Egyptian series tended to cluster with more southern African groups. Completely shut down permanently. Goodbye. So, Dr. Shamarka is vindicated in his paper, Studies of Ancient Crania from Northern Africa, where he says Badari occupies a position closest to what? Nubian and Nabta series? And then he says the Nabta and Kerma series are so similar that they are barely distinguishable in the territorial maps. They subsume the first dynasty series from Abydos. You heard it again. And right here in the paper that we've been reading from right here, Manchester, you see what it says. The bull, being the Nilotic equivalent, reflected the same ideology for Nilotic, Abydos, and Heracleopolis rulers. You see it right there on the screen. You can find the paper yourself. That's what it says. A clear example of ancient Egypt's Nile-Saharan roots. So you see what it says right there. And this same Dr. Shamarka has been invited to Cambridge University to speak and to Manchester. They did not invite Super Egyptian. They didn't invite any of their Eurocentric friends either. Nor none of the people that wrote their Eurocentric studies. Why? Because we know the truth now. And so we see right here how he says, he observes evidence which shows the biological connection between ancient Egyptians and tropical Africans. Egyptian series tended to cluster with more southern African groups. Now you know it's true. And then he talks about the tropical African influence on Egypt, which is the proper way to say it. But then they say right here, he doesn't consider the additional possibility that some of the ancient Egyptians descended from tropical African populations. And what they meant here was tropical African populations that were not in the Sudan. And so, you see this picture on the right. I put that there because I said, this doesn't look like your usual Nubian. So I said, hypothetically speaking, this might possibly be one of those silent minority so-called Nubians that might have come from somewhere that was not the Sudan and was there. Because we got to remember that these Nubians were dealing with other Africans that weren't in the Sudan. How do you think that they got those wild animals? And then here we see Jose discusses the marginalization of Egypt's African context in the European imagination. And you got that right. It's been entirely in your imagination the entire time. Sorry, freaks. He analyzes 15th century maps and Portuguese accounts and observes that this relationship was based on European perceptions of West Africans and their interests in the region. Why? Because they didn't know what the hell they was talking about. That's why. And we see that now. And so Jose argues that Afrocentrism is a legitimate challenge to Eurocentric conceptions of the world. You damn right, Jose. You see, this is one Latino that could talk about Egypt. There at Manchester. You see, look what he says. An Afrocentric Egypt is not black totalitarianism. Thank you very much. What it is today that we see is white totalitarianism in their fake version of Egypt, where they're stretching the ancestors out in the museum so people can take a picture of them. That's white totalitarianism, freaks. And as I've stated before, of course there were other people in ancient Kemet that were not black. But the thing that needs to be understood is that ancient Kemet was a black society. The same way that the United States of America is a white society, ancient Kemet was a black society. So yes, you're gonna have other people there that are not black. That much is obvious. Because you guys have been groupies anyway since day one. But now you know that ancient Kemet was a black society. The black people can now rest easy and know that before all this bullshit, there was ancient Kemet. So getting back to the paper, we see here that Afrocentrism is a response to Eurocentric racism. He's absolutely right. And then he concludes, it says correctly, that an Afrocentric Egypt is a political claim about the cultural and historical location of Kemet that is pertinent to the rest of African identity. He couldn't have waxed it more eloquently, man. And so, you guys are mad. You see, this is all just karma. Because, Sir William Matthew Flinders Petrie, that guy, he was nothing but a racist. He was exposed already by Dr. Ashton, along with a whole bunch of other people. He came up with all these weird theories, but none of them came true. That's too damn bad. He's responsible for half the fake artifacts, probably, but none of that shit worked. And so, back to Manchester, we see the Egyptologist Bill Manley, and he talks about Petrie's elitist approaches that were unique and sometimes went against contemporary attitudes. Kind of like in 1928, when these two excavators thought that Bedouins had come from the south. Yeah, those contemporary attitudes. And this is exhibited at the Kurna Queen burial. You see, Petrie, he never saw Egypt or Nubia as indigenous creations, but as products of an underlying European civilization. You see, he was living in a fantasy too. Petrie didn't see ancient Egypt and Nubia as white civilizations, and I want you Euro freaks to see that in print. Petrie did not see ancient Egypt and Nubia as white civilizations. So stop name dropping Petrie, freaks. I told you this punishment was going to be bad. I told you. Now look what it says. But as white influenced civilizations. He didn't see them as white civilizations, but that they were influenced by white people. The problem with that theory is you guys didn't have nothing at that time. Absolutely whatsoever. That's why you want to be Egyptians. It's too bad, freaks. You see now, the proof is in front of your fucking face, and your day in the sun is over. I don't have no sympathy for you. Oh well. You see, you guys want to try to make some white influenced Egypt when you guys didn't have nothing until the Greeks showed up. Have a good day, freaks. You at least 2,000 or 3,000 years too damn late. So we see right here that rather than seeing the Kurna queen as an indigenous Egyptian or Nubian, Petrie maintained that the queen was of European Asiatic admixture. He just made some shit up and just said that she was white and she was an Arab at the same damn time. Yep, it was us. It wasn't no African. But as you can see, Petrie has now been busted out, and that's that. There's nothing he can do about that. But you want to hear some karma though, Petrie? You see, this guy, Dr. Stephen Quirke, yeah, he runs this thing. It's called Learning and Teaching Resource for Higher Education. And you see, he was the curator of your museum. And you know what he supported and participates in? Black to Kemet. Remember that, Petrie. It's called mother-loving karma. And so, this is why they make up fake pictures, you know, like this National Geographic picture right here. They just completely made up their own fantasy version of ancient Kemet. That's supposed to be Narmer, you can tell. They just totally just make up their own version, and then they make these people who could be any damn race. Why? Because they're just jealous. Here we see Narmer, the real suit. He has the big nose, just like you said the Negroes have. And we now know he's a Nile Valley African. Get over it, Eurocentrics. Your day is up. And I'm here to let you know that. So, this is why you guys dress your kids up in Egyptian costumes. You know what I'm saying? You want to be Egyptians. You draw your own pictures because you have no evidence and hardly show the real Egyptian shit. Just remember that you will never be Narmer. That is not your legacy, and we are here to tell you today that it's over. It don't matter how many videos you make, how many comments you leave, it doesn't matter what you say. You wasn't no damn king, you were all a bunch of freaks who were bound down to the ancient Egyptians. Remember that shit. And so, back at Manchester, we see Clyde Winters. You see, a lot of cats don't know about Clyde Winters. You see, he'll tell you about the Bantus coming out of Sudan. He talk about shit like that. And so, the fact that he's over here at Manchester really surprised me. And we see that he says right here, the importance of a black ancient Egypt to Afro-American, that means us, communities, and the Indian Dalits over there in India that get discriminated against. Those are our brothers too, now you see. He emphasizes the empowerment that an Afrocentric Egypt brings to us. That's right. So when we look at those amazing pictures and we see those huge buildings and all that architecture, and then know that some black Africans, it came from their minds, it really is unbelievable, you know? And then to just know that now is absolutely great. That's why the Eurocentrics, you know, they don't want us to feel good about nothing, but I don't give a damn. You guys need to go back to Alexander, you need to go back to Julius Caesar and have fun with that. Here we see Winters brings attention to the centuries of Afro-American, that means us, scholarship that countered Eurocentric racism in the 19th and early 20th centuries, and I'm now updating that for the 21st century. Winters observes that the Dalits there in India, their civil rights movement is influenced by Afro-American scholarship, and I made sure that I highlighted that for you. Afro-American scholarship, kind of like the scholarship that I'm bringing to you freaks now, because I'm going to tell you right now, Super Egyptian and Phoenician number 7, they're not going to bring you no scholarship. They're not going to tell you a damn thing about Egypt except some Caucasian shit. You feel me? But there's many levels to this, and I'm just breaking these levels down, freaks. So we see that the Dalits in India, their civil rights movement was influenced by our scholarship on ancient Egypt. Why? Because black people everywhere are the grand masters of Egypt. Okay? Not you, Eurocentrics. You guys make up weird shit, you make up fake statues, and you make up fantasies about the shit. And you just bring the whole prestige down. But not anymore. We throwing you Hyksos invaders out the land, putting you back in Anatolia, And, this punishment is just going to continue. So we got to move on. Here we see that the Dalits and Afro-Americans both see ancient Egypt and Nubia as part of their cultural heritage. And that's why we say it's Black African history. You see, we can make pictures like this all day. Why? Because this is our shit. It's African shit. This is the Greece and the Rome of Africa is Kush and Kemet. And so this is why they put the Black Power comb from the 70s next to the 5,500-year-old comb from Abydos, Egypt, right there at one of the world's greatest museums. I'm putting it right there for you, Eurocentrics, so you can see it. This is for all those times you guys talked all those shit in the comments and told us to kick rocks. Nope, you need to kick rocks, freaks. This is why I say you're not going to debunk me and you're not going to do shit because you can't get no higher, freaks. And I know it makes you mad, but I don't give a fuck about you being mad. That's why I say Black to Kemet. Remember, Ramses II, Abu Simbel, built down there in Lower Nubia, is Black history. And so when we go back to the Fitzwilliam virtual gallery, what you're looking at right here, they have a little information on there, and it says there are many links between ancient Egyptian and modern African culture. For these reasons, Egypt is seen by people of African descent as part of their cultural heritage and history. And it's just like Clyde Winter says, see ancient Egypt and Nubia as part of their cultural heritage. So you see it again. So when Phoenician number 747 tells me she doesn't believe they are Caucasian, they are Caucasian point blank, science has established this, she's a complete joke and is completely outnumbered. Only her and her little friends, the Eurocritics, have to disagree, but that's okay. So they just copy ancient Egypt. We can see right here how they like to copy ancient Egypt every single day and do everything that the Nile Valley Africans did, the same way that they copy us today. So SETI has been vindicated and the redemption of African history is now. Dr. Ashton, she is your white sister, and she was trying to warn you that that day was here, but you guys didn't want to listen. So guys like SETI got to put explosive guerrilla documentaries out just to let you freaks know what the deal is, but you still don't want to listen. So we got to use white science to destroy your dreams. And so who do we see at Manchester but Dr. Ashton herself? Oh, it's over, Eurocentrics. I told you today it was over, okay? There is nothing else after this. You feel me? And look what it says. She talks about her experience as a white female African-centered Egyptologist. And she addresses the suspicion towards white African-centered Egyptologists. People like Phoenician number 7 and their friends. Oh, who is she? Somebody here to destroy your dreams, freaks. Because look what Dr. Ashton does. She actually engages Black perspectives which are often marginalized by traditional Egyptology. For example, Ashton collaborated with African scholars and Black community groups to make Fitzwilliam's permanent online Egyptian gallery, Virtual Kemet. This one, Black to Kemet. Have a good day, Eurocentrics. Goodbye. Good night. So, Dr. Ashton, one of the things that she does say is that facial reconstructions and reenactments should portray the Egyptians with dark skin complexions and African hairstyles. And look what it says right there in yellow. To avoid Eurocentric depictions. Goodbye. Have a good day, freaks. Is this getting into your head now? Can you see me? I know you see me right now. I know you can hear me too. Can't you see that your day is up? I surely hope every Black person is just sitting there right now, just smiling and laughing because I told you that the day was coming. It can't get any more clear than this, people. And now we're going to look at the desperation of Eurocentrics. Shall we? Ashton correctly observes that an African-centered approach to Egypt is not racially or ethnically exclusive. That's right, there could be other people there that are not black and be Egyptian too, of course. Now, she argues that these facial reconstructions and reenactments should portray the Egyptians with dark skin complexions and African hairstyles. But what we get is the minority coming in, completely overrunning the black people, and then you don't see anything proper on these channels. Let's start with this phony picture of Narmer from National Geographic. This is, of course, a pure fantasy, and it actually looks like a bunch of Native Americans when you look at it. Here we see the History Channel. And when it was time to show some Egyptians, the only time they showed black people was wearing Egyptian diapers and beating on rocks. It got that bad. And all this does is reinforce the same old tired imagery. And not only that, this is how the Europeans wish it was. And as you can see, if we show the walls of Kemet, we see who was doing the work. However, I got this picture from the History Channel when they wanted to show pictures of Egyptians and talk about them. Isn't that ironic? Rather than showing some real Egyptian art, they show this generic art right here. Here we see some pictures of real Egyptians. You can see, simply by looking at this picture, that you are looking at the walls of Kemet. That this right here, that's Kemet right there. You know, look at that style, look at that art. Just look at that. There is no more arguing these walls anymore. We knew that these were black people the whole damn time, and now the redemption is now. And so, on the History Channel, what we get is guys who look like they belong somewhere on the streets of Calcutta. It's like they're just gonna hire a straight Indian and put some eyeliner on this fool, and then we're supposed to just believe he's an ancient Egyptian. Why? Because these people have fantasies. Look at this guy. He looks like a complete clown in that makeup. And it's like they just shit all over the Egyptians, and it's like they downplay their achievements. And then here we have this kid. I think he's supposed to be Djoser as a boy, or Snefuru. And here you see he looks just like Chachi from East LA. It's like they just decide to just straight up hire Mexicans to play Egyptian kings. And it's crazy. They can't find anybody in the Sudan. They gotta find Chachi. So here we see Chachi grown up in his mother's eyeliner. And you see once again how they just shit completely on ancient Kemet. They don't care about it at all. It's just a source of income to these people. This is why they make phony recreations of kings like King Tut. As you can see, this is bizarre, it's crazy, and these people truly are just shitting all over Kemet. This is why they create their own Egyptian fantasies. This is why they dress the kids up. They make up their own pictures. It's crazy. And so we see right here how when we see pictures a lot of times of ancient Kemet or them just standing by something, you know what I'm saying? They always find a way to include an Arab. They always make sure he has a turban on. It's never a guy in a suit or anything. It's always a guy in a robe and a turban. Have you ever noticed that? He'll be holding a Kemetic symbol. And you see this picture right here? I got this from TV, okay? I took the screenshot from the show. Here we see again how they pose these Arabs, and then they just have them point at something a lot of times, or they'll just pose them. They always make sure he has a robe on, always make sure he has a turban, and always subconsciously associate that Arab with the walls of Kemet. And it's an outrage. But we now see that this is all manipulated and we won't be falling for that anymore, right? Here we see another Arab being posed. This picture will look perfectly fine by itself. We don't need to have a guy reclining. Why the hell would he be in some old ruins just chilling like that? We all know you did that on purpose. And they do that again to reinforce Caucasian imagery. That's what they're doing. This right here, I took this screenshot when the narrator was talking about the sons of Ham. So they go and show this Asiatic while talking about the sons of Ham. That's why now the Hamites are now white, Remember the curse of Ham? Oh, you're black because of the curse of Ham. Now, all of a sudden, the people of Ham are white. You guys can't even make your mind up. You know why? Cognitive dissonance. That's what that is. You're believing in two competing views at the exact same time. This is why I say you're a bunch of freaks. And so, you got people over in Uganda, Rwanda, they're a mixture of a lot of stuff over there. What the Caucasians do, start telling these people they're Caucasians and introduce terrible things there. And then you want to tell us that we're terrible? We don't do weird shit like that. Eurocentrics? Damn. Look at that bullshit. You guys did that shit. You guys try to bring that into Ethiopia. You try to bring that everywhere. You're all a bunch of freaks. And so, getting back to these TV reenactments, here we see this dude looks like a straight up Mexican and he's supposed to be a Libyan. Look at that. He looks like a Cholo from around the way. Here we see again another Libyan. You cannot tell me that that dude does not look like a straight up Latino right now. It's crazy. And again, this is how they shit on ancient Kemet, and this is proof, black people, that the people that are so-called been in charge, like the History Channel, of making shit for the reenactment, they don't give a damn about ancient Egypt. These are people in Los Angeles who sit in the building and make up this shit and put it on TV and shit all over this legacy. You see, this right here was supposed to be a Nubian. Of course, he had to be a fat, spear-chucking guy who's in the middle of nowhere. They just completely shit on the Nubians. And what I found even more strange was they then turn around, put this damn cheetah skin on this damn Mexican or white guy, and then say that's a Nubian. And they show these images so fast that you really can't catch them, but it's all subliminal messaging, people. So then they go back when they start talking about the Nubians again, they make them look like some hunter-gatherers with some sticks in their hands who are hanging out by the rocks. And then, other times, they'll show the Nubians looking white in their fantasy drawings. And here, when the Nubians are doing something fantastic, all of a sudden they're white. And then, when it's time for them to be black, they're spear chuckers who are running around in the middle of nowhere. Nowhere mentioned is the fabulous gold of Kush. Why? Because they're jealous. They don't mention Meroe and what a fabulous city it was. Nope, they don't tell you about that. You see, they're not going to tell you about Taharka and how he had truly and literally become Osiris. And that the primeval kingship, the fertility and the continuity of the state emanated from this sainted being of a king who had become the eternal king. You see it right there. Have a good day, Eurocentrics. Stop hating. You see, on the TV shows, they're not going to tell you that the holy mountain deep in Kush was the original Karnak. And the ancient Egyptians of the Egyptian Empire said themselves that this pure mountain in Kush was the thrones of the two lands. Yes, you heard that right. You see it right there. You see, Eurocentrics always want proof. Well, hear the words of Thutmose III. He said this to the native residents of the Pure Mountain there in Kush. O ye people of Pure Mountain, which was called Karnak, before it was known. Yep, the same Karnak that you marvel at had a sister city there at Jebel Barkal. And you know what city they built over there? Nabta. That's right, freaks. Get over it. And as you see, when you look at that Karnak, now you know that it's a black city. When you ask us, what have you contributed to the world? You take a look at that damn picture. That's what we contributed to the world. Have a good day. Here we see they considered Jebel Barkal, the pure mountain, to be the main residence of a mysterious southern aspect of Amun, who had merged with Ra Atum, who was called the first moment of creation, and this is also where the Ka of Amun of Karnak rested. So that's why I say, when you see Karnak, think of the Nubians. Have a good day. You've seen it. I broke it all the way down to ABC. It couldn't get any more simple. Because you see, the sun rose over the pinnacle of the pure mountain which also represented the white crown of Upper Egypt. Now remember, this is at the time of the Egyptian Empire, the New Kingdom. This is when all the good stuff starts happening, you know. And yeah, remember that, Eurocentrics. You see, they always need proof. Well, listen to the words of Seti. From his stela at the pure mountain, Amun, Lord of the thrones of the two lands, who is in the pure mountain. You heard it again. Have a good day. Ptah, south of his wall, living Lord of the two lands. Atum, Lord of the two lands of Heliopolis, as if they were all present at Jebel Barkal. And need I remind you that this place was also the other Heliopolis too? You see, they never want to tell you that on a TV show about the Nubians. All we get is some spirit chuckers. And remember, you see it right there in print. Ptah is described as foremost of Nubia. Since by the early 18th dynasty, Karnak was called Southern Heliopolis. Yeah, here we go. Since Jebel Barkal was called Karnak. And the pinnacle would surely have been recognized as a bin. What is that? The top of the pyramid. Have a good day. And you see right here, it seems evident that a wholesale transfer of the Heliopolitan cosmogony was made simultaneously to Karnak and to Jebel Barkal, perhaps as early as Hatshepsut's reign. So what that means is all these deities, wholesale transfer made at the same time to the city of Karnak temple, that temple over there, that grand structure that you guys marvel at the exact same time it was transferred to Jebel Barkal in Kush. You see, this proves that you freaks have been hating on the damn Nubians the entire damn time. That's why I said your punishment today is complete. There's nothing more for you to say. We could just keep reading, but we got to move on. But before we do, we're going to take a look at the pure mountain. This is what the Egyptians would have seen. The sun, the Uraeus underneath the sun, and then the Uraeus, which is the cobra, has the sun on its head. That's what the Egyptians saw. We want to make sure we show you a picture of that so you can't say no bullshit. Okay? And we see the importance of the positioning of the sun in Kush, the same way we see the importance of the positioning of the sun in Kemet. Here we see at the summer equinox, the sun will go over the shoulder of the Sphinx and set at the corner of Khafre's. Down in Kush, the pinnacle of, and here you can see that the pinnacle of the whole eyes. That's right, Eurocentrics, the land of Kush, get over it. So when Dr. Ashton convincingly demonstrates that an African-centered approach allows for more inclusive Egyptology, what she means is the British Museum saying that the focus is on evidence from objects, especially tomb paintings. What that means is it has every right to be considered African, a powerful counter-argument to those who try to belittle the cultural and technological achievements of African civilizations. You know, like the way you marvel at those damn temples over there at Karnak. Yeah, that's what they mean, freaks. You see, you can't shut nothing down. That's why you guys make up your own fantasy images of Akhenaten. So, as you can see, this is from the Discovery Channel, of course. And rather than using some of the fabulous artifacts that the ancient people of Kemet left behind, they just make up their own picture. It's ridiculous. And it's just a slap in the face, man. I don't understand why these freaks do this stuff. Why? Because they're just jealous, man, that wasn't them. And that they were absolutely nowhere to be found. So they just make it up the way they wish it was. So we get old white guys standing up underneath colossal statues, and they just can't believe that straight out of Africa, stuff like this could come, and they just stand there and just look small. Hey, it's not our problem, freaks. That's why they sit up here and disrespect our queens and make up these fake looking white queens. They don't look anything like Egyptian, look like something straight out of King Arthur. which again is subliminal imagery. That's why Super Egyptian, all these little freaks that follow them, that's why they think they're Egyptians, because of stuff like this. When they need to be looking at something like this. A real Egyptian. You feel me? Start showing the real pictures. Look at these high quality images that I keep bringing up. They don't never want to show this on the Discovery Channel ever. Why? Because it's not going to match up with their little Mexican actors that they hire to play King Joseph. And so, getting back to Manchester, we see that an African-centered approach allows for more inclusive Egyptology. And now listen, Euro freaks, traditional Egyptology should follow Ashton's inclusive approach because it creates a dynamic subject. And you want to know what a dynamic subject is, Euro freaks? This. Amenhotep. Look at that statue. Instead of sitting here arguing all the time, why don't we all get together and talk about what a great looking statue this is and how it's just probably one of the most realistic damn statues you're going to get. Instead, they're going to show you some piece of junk and tell you that's the most realistic statue. We can all see he's clearly a black man. This goes entirely in hand with what they were just talking about at Manchester and every other single thing that I've showed you on this damn video. There is no more fantasies about getting tan. You're not getting no damn tan that damn dark, and you're especially not getting a tan darker than us. Have a good day, Eurocentrics. Your fantasy dream is over. Goodbye. Release the balloons. Here we see Amenhotep again, and we see the different ways that he presented himself. And then we see over here on the right the Eurocentric fantasy of how they wish it was. Again, there's absolutely no image of Amenhotep anywhere in history that looks like that damn painting that Winifred made right there. It sucks anyway. Instead, they hired J. Edgar Hoover to be a model. They put the damn blue crown on. Get out of here. Here we see the real Amenhotep. And we now know what we're looking at. And that's what makes all of this more satisfying, you see. Is that we know what we're looking at and who we're looking at now. I know we're not looking at J. Edgar Hoover in a damn hat. That's what I do know. He didn't wear the cobra, you see. And so, that's why you guys got to create your own fantasy little fake statues, and then you want to break the nose off on purpose. I mean, look at this piece of junk. They say this is one of the most realistic Egyptian statues. They say it over and over again. But as we've seen, this is realistic. This statue, they'll tell you that this is the work of a master over and over again, when this is the work of a master. So now we see, Eurocentrics, you've been caught in your lies. We know you make fake shit. Time to move on. The placement of Africa in its African context and the inclusion of African-centered perspectives propel the dynamism of this volume. And you see the words that they use: archaeological discussions, African-centered scholarship, clearly show that ancient Egypt cannot be isolated from its Nile-Saharan context. Again, here they go saying the same thing that they've been saying in the other paper, that you can't have ancient Egypt isolated from its Nile-Saharan context. Have a good day, Eurocentrics. Goodbye. They're not saying absolutely nothing in here whatsoever about the Caucasian areas, Anatolia, Syria. Damn. Can't you see that the base, the foundation of ancient Kemet was Africa? We've been telling you the whole time. This type of scholarship, it doesn't get much higher. You're not gonna have so much devoted to a white Egypt anywhere. There are no exhibitions for that. There are no European combs being posted up next to the pre-dynastic Abydos comb anywhere. And it's not going to be, ever. You feel me? Unless you put it up there. Okay? These people have broken this thing down to the atom. They've proven it in every single last category of disciplines. And you guys just can't get over it. And I'm just here to tell you that I don't give a damn. You see? Look what it says. They talk about your problematic biases in Egyptology and how it needs to be corrected. And also, Black Egypt's position is discussed in a scholarly manner, which is rare in mainstream Egyptological discussions. And it demonstrates that dialogue between African-centered scholarship, not European, not Eurocentric, African-centered scholarship, and traditional Egyptologists is beneficial to the study of ancient Egypt. We have been vindicated. African history has reached its redemption. And pretty much anybody black watching this video today can use this information. You can use any of this information to shut down any Eurocentric completely wherever you live. It doesn't matter where you at. The Eurocentrics are completely shut down. It's way too many. It's just way too much invested now. And you've seen how they've broken this stuff down to the atom. And so, Saharan Sub-Saharan, the Grand Master, the General, is vindicated. He wasn't talking no bullshit when he told you about that Black Egypt. He was absolutely right, and you guys are nothing but a bunch of haters. And that's it. It's nothing you can say anyway. You see, we look right here at Marcus Garvey. You see that sign right there? It says, founded in 1970 by Marcus Garvey, the Universal Negro Improvement Association inspired African American pride. It encouraged self-reliance, spread news of interest to blacks, and urged them to establish nationhood in Africa. That's right, freaks. And so, when we look over here at the costal incense burner, and you look at these Egyptian kings, now you know how there's a straight line from the costal incense burner to the throne of Egypt. It's been solved for you. You don't gotta, it doesn't have to be a mystery anymore. You don't gotta read 15,000 papers now to figure that shit out. We already figured it out for you, and now the top scholarship has whole damn conferences and whole damn books wrote about the shit now. But you guys still want to keep on making your video because you see Super Egyptian and all these freaks, they're gonna keep making videos, but again, that's white therapy for them. And so Dr. Ashton knew exactly what she was talking about. You know, you can always go to her page. She says, let me know what questions or feedback you have for me. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Thanks. I look forward to hearing from you, but she's never going to hear from you freaks. So just remember, Ta-Seti, the land of the bow, the A Group Royal Cemetery at Custal. You see the sacred bark going towards the damn palace. That's exactly what it means now. Now we know what that means, is that there were Nubians going to the damn palace. You feel me? That's why over there at Nagata, the elite segment over there that Prouse and Lavelle took a look at was more related to Nubians. Have a good day, people. Now you know. You can connect A to fucking B there, and then C is British Museum, Dr. Ashton. Everybody, everything that I've seen, all you gotta do is watch my damn videos. You simply can't resist me, freaks. And so, when we go back to this other paper we were looking at from the British Museum, Cultural Convergence, the aim of the article was to define an important cultural horizon. Okay? That belonged to the 5th millennium BC, and it links Egypt's early development firmly to that of its southern neighbors in Nubia and the central Sudan. This is found throughout the entirety of the Nile Valley, and there is a remarkably consistent set of concepts. Not with Europe, not with the Trans-Caucasus. You guys need to get off that. There was no such thing as no damn Arab Egyptians. There's no evidence of that. The Arabs were doing their thing in Arabia. That's their homeland. That's what they were doing, man. You guys got to get over that. No one is in the professional world is talking about any damn Arab Egyptians except the damn Arabs living in Egypt. Can you feel me? Get over it. You see what it says right there. Concordance of cranial and dental morphological traits. Populations in northern Nubia. It goes hand in hand with what we just read at Nagata. That Nagata, okay? And so all of this again goes hand in hand with what Harris and Weeks wrote in 1973 on page 123 about the 17th dynasty, Sultan Sekenenra, where they said his entire facial complex fit more easily into the series of Nubian and Old Kingdom Giza skulls than later Egyptian kings. And various scholars in the past have proposed a Nubian, that is, non-Egyptian origin for Sekenenra and his family, and his facial features suggest this might indeed be true. You know who wrote that? SOY. You know who. And he's been vindicated too at the highest levels of science and Egyptology First of all, let's establish that now. I've already demonstrated that. And what they're saying about this 17th dynasty king, his entire facial complex fits more easily into that of Nubians and Old Kingdom Giza. Okay? It goes entirely hand in hand with what Proust and Lavelle said about the pre-dynastic Elite Nagata population that they had studied that was more closely related to populations in northern Nubia, which goes hand in hand with the British Museum's study where they said that we have to link Egypt's early development firmly to that of its southern neighbors in Nubia and the Central Sudan, which itself goes hand in hand with the A Group Royal Cemetery at Custal, where we find the White Crown of Egypt. Certainly not in the Transcaucasus Mountains, but nearly 6,000 years ago at the A Group Royal Cemetery at Custal, where Ta Seti, the land of the bow. And this goes hand in hand with what Dr. Ashton has been saying. And what Dr. Ashton has been saying goes hand in hand with what Manchester is saying. And what Manchester is saying goes hand in hand with what Cambridge and the Fitzwilliam Museum is saying. And what all these people are saying goes hand in hand with what we, the black people, have been saying the entire time, our entire lives. And that's why I can say black to Kemet. Keep trying to tell you freaks that your day is up. It just goes on too deep. You know, I don't want to bore anybody here. We got to move on. But I wanted to make sure that I drew a straight line of information, because I can't keep going over this with you freaks anymore. So therefore, when Phoenician number 7 tries to tell me she doesn't believe they're Caucasian, that they are Caucasian point blank, now you can see that I've completely, utterly, thoroughly trashed her, completely shut her down. She can keep making videos all she wants to, but it's not going to change real life. All she's doing is just being a cheerleader for these sad Europeans who need white therapy. That's too bad that you can't be Egyptians, but we got to be some grown-ass people here. We can't sit up here and act like children anymore and argue about statues all the time. How many more years are we going to argue statues and pictures? They said the evidence is from the damn tomb paintings and the damn material evidence. They told you that, so there's no point in even arguing that shit anymore. So, for all time, Eurocentrics, Phoenician number 7 trying to tell me science has established this while they got a big ass poster of a black Egyptian flying over there in England at Liverpool. You're a freak, you know that? So you guys think you're leaving black people devastated? No, you guys are the ones left devastated, not us. You see, we don't gotta keep on showing pictures of our sisters anymore and keep arguing about hair. For what? We don't gotta prove shit to you. That's why you guys want to keep on making your own freaky pictures, because you guys just want to be just like black people. That's what it comes down to ever since back in the day. That's why you guys make Eurocentric propaganda. That's why you guys talk violently. You know, you don't want to show the real Egyptian artifacts. The same way the Discovery Channel will show their own picture is the same way that Super Egyptian will show his own hand-picked pictures. He'll show the most generic looking shit instead of showing some tight shit like what you see right there on the right side. And so we know now that the virtual gallery over there at the Fitzwilliam Museum's website, we know now that all this goes hand in hand with that too, that there are many links between ancient Egyptian and modern African culture. For these reasons, Egypt is seen by people of African descent as part of their cultural heritage and history. Do you hear me? That's right, freaks. Now look what it says though, most importantly. The concept of Egypt as part of Africa is not a new one. Some of the earliest travelers to Egypt came from the ancient cultures of Greece and Rome, along with other places, including Greek philosophers, mathematicians, scientists, writers, and poets who came to learn from the priests. To the Greeks and the Romans, Egypt was not an African country, and their artists depicted the Egyptians as Africans, with black skin and tight curly hair. You see it in print. It's on a virtual gallery at one of the world's greatest museums that's been called one of the great treasure houses of Britain. Come on, people. And so, as we read right here, that the philosophers, the mathematicians, the scientists, the writers, and the poets came to learn from these black African people. Because that was the foundation, remember. We see now that we can finally say, yes, we was kings, freaks. They straight up told you that it was African. So now we have the absolute proof that we need to say that this Madonna was completely inspired by Africans. We can now say that. We talking African, black African, whatever you want to call yourself. Diaspora, whatever. Senegal, Congo, Somalia, whatever. I'm talking about that kind of African, okay? And here we see how the Arabs came into Egypt and started copying the Egyptians. And then we see the Sumerians right here. You see, and then we see the Sumerians right here, how they completely copied the Egyptians. And also, their society did not rise up until after the Egyptians. We'll be going over that in a minute. And here we see Ptolemy copying the Egyptians as usual. That's why you see the Egyptians, Indo-Europeans, they left your cartouches blank because they didn't respect you. That's why. You see, ever since the days of Ptolemy, when you guys were trying to be like us, I noticed that every time we do something, there you are doing the same shit. And you can't deny it because today I'm showing you right here. It's like all we got to do is just sit there. You will observe us under a microscope and transform into one of us. All the time. You can't help yourself. You see that's the face of ancient Kemet right there that you see. Look at that. Now you can see how it's part of African culture. So instead, you guys want to go and try to look like us again. You do it all the time. Here you see how we rock them dreadlocks. Here you see how you try to do the same shit and look homeless while you're doing it too. And so, it's so many examples that we can go over. How these freaks are always trying to copy us all the time. It don't matter what the hell we do. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know what it is, man. Ever since the days of ancient Kemet, the world has just been drawn to us and they just want to be just like us. Then you want to lie and say, don't nobody want to be like you? Yeah, right. Ask this lady. She was one of the leaders of the NAACP. I'm like, damn, what the hell? What the hell is up with that shit? You feel me? And then she talking about she black. She told a lie. They got a picture of her blonde ass. That shit was a joke, bro. But hey, I don't blame her. That's why I say, thanks for watching. Because I know you are. You see? And so, now that I've demonstrated in so many ways how you guys copy us the same way that you copied the ancient Egyptians, man. It's just something about that African, man, that you guys can't stay away from. And so, here we see Sumeria, how they directly copied the ancient Egyptians. And you see, this is what Saharan Sub-Saharan had pointed out. And I make sure that I learn from the Grand Masters. And I said I wouldn't be damned if these damn Asiatics were copying the Egyptians. And do remember that Haramumbi, the Asiatic king, imitated Egyptian kings. That's a fact. Look it up. Here we see how they give it up like the Egyptians. Look at that fake ass Egyptian crown this dude has on his head. You see, they'll sit up here and try to tell us that the Egyptians learned from the Sumerians. But my question is, how is it that the first kings over there amongst the Sumerians were around 2500 something BC? Now, by that time, we had pyramids like this one, sitting right there. Damn near brand new even. You see, this picture right here, what we're looking at, is an old ziggurat over there in Iraq. But you see, one of those Asiatics like Saddam Hussein or one of them, he put that wall around it. That's fake. You see, behind that wall is this pile of junk. You mean to tell me that the Egyptians were learning from these people? No, they were not. These people made their shit out of dirt, and it obviously wasn't that good because it just went away. All of it did. There's nothing that we can look at absolutely whatsoever. A lot of the Nubian pyramids are damaged, but a lot of them, you can still look at them. You see, right here, this is the first pyramid. And here we can see the Egyptians were learning how to make pyramids. It wasn't no damn aliens coming down. That light is not a damn spaceship about to fly and land. Here you see the Nile Valley Africans. You see how their architecture didn't just completely just look like a pile of shit. Here you see the development that took place and how over time we came to the step pyramid. And by this time, you see, there were no Sumerian kings. And while the Egyptians were learning how to make pyramids, the Sumerians did not have any kings that are recorded that anybody can prove. So first of all, how do you even have the strength in your social stratification to be dictating anything to ancient Kemet? We now see that it's linked to the Nile Saharan, and that it's linked all the way down to Khartoum. They told you numerous times already, down to the land of the place that you previously kept on saying was pure Negroes living over there. Yep, those people. So you see the Nile Valley architecture right here, and how eventually the step pyramid became a real pyramid. And then here we see Saqqara. Going back to Iraq, what do we see but a big pile of dirt? This is what they have to show. How the hell are you going to sit up here and say anything to the Nile Valley Africans, Asiatics? How are you going to say anything to black people, period, when this is all you have to show for yourself? This is crazy, man. It really is. And so here we see, now that we know that the foundation of ancient Kemet is a black foundation, we can look at these pyramids and say, damn, when you compare this to what the Asiatics have over there in Iraq, the difference is astounding, and just the size alone is just completely stomping on the Asiatic architecture, man. I mean, I know these guys have palaces and this and that, but when we're talking about monumental buildings like a ziggurat, come on, bro. It wasn't even nearly as big as these pyramids. And we now know it's a legacy of black people. African, whatever you want to call yourself, we can finally look at that and know what we're looking at, and know that the people that made this stuff came from our side of the family tree. It didn't come from the Indo-European side of the family tree. It's been established as a fact, and I gotta tell you, it is very satisfying to be able to look at stuff like this, especially when I switch over to this. I'm like, man, no wonder these people want to be Egyptians, and no wonder they're mad at black people. I'm like, shit, that's too damn bad, freaks. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna look at the pictures of the pyramids. I'm gonna look at all the shit now. Look what I'm looking at, and I'm gonna let you know right now that it feels good too. So you see, moving on, you can see right here, Persepolis, how they copy the ancient Egyptians again. It's proof right here. I got this from SETI. You can see how the Nile Valley Africans directly influenced your favorite places. You know, the mighty Xerxes, you know, Persepolis. Alexander burnt it down. That's right, the mighty Persepolis. We can see ancient Kemet, you know what I'm saying? These damn Persians were looking up, and you're not going to say that Persia is older than Kemet. Absolutely no way. So, again, there are many links between ancient Egyptian and modern African culture. For these reasons, Egypt is seen by people of African descent as part of their cultural heritage and history. And then you see right here, the earliest travelers to Egypt included philosophers, mathematicians, scientists, writers, and poets, and also architects and all type of stuff, because they copied the Egyptians everywhere they went. And we now know that the world's greatest universities will straight up tell you, man, that in adopting the name Kemet, we hope to remind people that ancient Egypt is an African civilization, and that while the culture had contact with people from other civilizations, it was essentially African in its culture as well as its geographical placement. This can't get any more clear to you, though. Here we see Phoenician number 7, a Phoenician coffin from the 5th century. What does it say? White marble. And we see that this male head is wearing an Egyptian-style headdress. And we see that Greco-Egyptian types have been found in large numbers at the Phoenician city of Sidon, and we can also find it in Cyprus and Sicily. So Phoenician number 7, you've been busted out, man. You guys were copying the Nile Valley Africans too, just like you do on your picture. You sit up there, you put this little eye makeup picture on here with a little blue eye on it, when in reality, those are our sisters that were painting their eyes like that. How does that make you feel, freak? And so, when we look at Abu Simbel, we now know why they flooded that area over there. Because they know that that spot right there in Lower Nubia is a legacy of Africa. You see, next time you look at Mount Rushmore, I want you to look at Abu Simbel. Think about that. See, remember that. Now we know who made that. Now you know Eurocentrics. So when you look at that, you can appreciate it now for what it really is. That's why you guys flooded it, didn't you? And we now know when we see the mighty Karnak temple, when you look at those huge slabs of stone up there and how they got it all the way up there, and you look at how beautiful those damn pillars are carved. You look at how small the people are, and you look at its splendor and its majesty. Black people, we now know that it's all in the family. And it's been proven absolutely 100%. The Eurocentrics punishment is officially over today. It's done, it's over with. You see, when you see the tourist spots and you see this fabulous architecture and all these people, they're just drooling all over it. It really is amazing to know that the Nile Valley Africans were responsible for that. That they gave birth to all of that. When we look at these colossal statues and wonder, how the hell did they lift that up there? Ask the Nile Valley Africans that. We're not going to be asking Eurocentrics anymore. They outright called out Eurocentrics, called you guys a joke, and they laugh in your face. And so, when we see this picture of our Queen Mother, Queen Nefertari, we now know that she is a black woman. There's no more arguing these pictures anymore. And once again, it's like the general said, light-skinned Africans existed in ancient Egypt back then as well as they exist today. Get over it, Eurocentrics. Stop trying to add yourself into everything. So, as we come to a conclusion here, we can see now why our sisters look exactly like the Egyptian women on the damn wall. It's because they are. And this is why, when you look at the beauty of the black woman, it doesn't matter where she's located. It doesn't matter where she at. You look at the diversity, and all you want to do is chase her. Because that's all that you can do. That's what you've been doing. Here you see the evidence. Here you see how it is. And to this day, it's still the same way. You can't stay away from that African. You can't stay away. And so, we hit you with these mashups of all of our women and how different they can look. And you guys want to try to tell us they were Caucasian, when it turned out that you were lying the whole damn time. You don't show the proper queens on TV. You always got to show some fake shit. But you see, we're here, we show the real shit, and we show how the culture still lives on to this day. So, when Super Egyptian and Phoenician number 7 think they can see me, you can't see me, bruh. I told you. You see, this shutdown is complete. Okay? I told you, freaks. that I'm using the highest levels of scholarship to show a complete shutdown. There is no other evidence that needs to be brung anymore. There doesn't need to be any more videos from Phoenician number 7 or Super Egyptian. However, since they've been left completely devastated, completely shut down, they can't even produce one single answer for my body of evidence that I have presented. And I made sure, since I am black, that I made sure that I didn't come with absolutely no bullshit whatsoever, and there's no one that's going to tell me that I brought any line of shit, because I made sure I showed every single source and made sure everything was identified, and also made sure that I showed the custodians of Egyptology and the halls of Egyptology explicitly talking about black to Kemet. So that means that when Phoenician number 7 tries to come close and tell me that science has already established this, we all know that's a lie. We all know that it's phony. So, you see, when you see a picture like this, now you know what an Egyptian is. And you know what? We can make any damn picture that we want to make now. You feel me? So just remember, black to Kemet.
Black skin, brown skin.
You see, it's not going to be Upedia, Matilda's blog. You see, all that exists as white therapy. That's why. But I say we just use these places to punish Eurocentrics, because that's basically what's been happening on those places. They go there, they punish you, they present you the evidence. All you guys do is cry. But you can't deny the evidence that I've sent you, Eurocentrics. Okay? So therefore, when the British Museum tells you that it has every right to be considered African, then you need to listen. When the Kemet expert tells you to go to the British Museum's website and look at where it says the focus is on evidence from objects, especially tomb paintings, for this African society, maybe you might want to listen. When a Grand Master Egyptologist tells you to recognize that ancient Egypt and the ancient Egyptians were African, it's time to start listening now. Can you feel me? These are education resources that I'm bringing to you from your holy fathers in the halls of Egyptology. The British Museum is one of the greatest collections of Egyptian artifacts that you can find anywhere. How can you possibly tell me that you're going to bring me something higher that's going to show the same quality slide that you see right here, but that says something Eurocentric? You're not, unless it's something that you made yourself. So, we see the face of Akhenaten. We don't got to worry if he's a white man that's stylized. That's just another word for we hate that he looks so African. Freaks. So now we know when we look at King Tut, we're looking at a black man. We knew that the whole damn time, and it's been proven. So when we look at this picture of these new kingdom Egyptian elites at the height of the empire, dressed the way that they're supposed to be dressed, you can now identify this as somebody from the family. Not an Indo-European and not a damn Asiatic. There was absolutely no evidence presented that links ancient Egypt and modern science with any damn Asiatics. They shut that down a long time ago. And so the Caucasian dream is over. And so all the way back in Egyptian times, these Caucasians were staring at the black man, staring at the African. And all the way down to this day, they still can't keep their eyes off. And so, black African history has triumphed once again. If we've been here this damn long, what the hell makes you think you're gonna destroy us? Get a grip. Therefore, Phoenician number 7, you're not leaving a damn thing devastated. And if we want to make our own shit, you know what I'm saying, to represent for our history, so damn what? You need to go back over there with Richard Lionheart and figure out what he was doing over there. And oh yeah, tell your friends to stop making these fake ass Egyptian pictures and show the real shit. Okay, Phoenician number 7? I'm sure that you enjoyed this smackdown and this beatdown that I put on you for the past month now. And now you know that instead of telling me that science has established they are Caucasian point blank, what you need to be saying is black to Kemet. Remember that. Until next time.